The Four Pillars Group is a very specialist investment business. We invest purely in the recruitment sector, and even more specifically, we only invest in startup or very early stage recruitment businesses. As we were planning and preparing for the launch of the business, we found ourselves talking a lot about the four pillars of our investment strategy. The four pillars being funding, operational infrastructure and support, mentoring and development, and sale and exit strategy. So as we worked through that, it was a very easy decision in the end to name the business Four Pillars Group. In terms of funding, what we look at there is the capital requirement to launch and or grow the business in accordance with the business plan. What we're looking at is how much funding will be needed, and we then commit our capital in proportion to the equity stake that we take in the business in conjunction with the founder and business owner. What we're looking at with operational infrastructure and support is ultimately, as far as possible, freeing up the founder and the business owner to focus on what we call the three C's that are critical to their growth and their success: their candidate strategy, their client strategy, and their consultant strategy. Everything else that's needed to run and operate the business, which would be the full finance support, IT support, legal support, everything essentially that's needed to run the business, we provide that for our founders and business owners. What we find with the recruiters that we invest in, they're very experienced, they're very proven, they're very capable, very talented. It's a very big leap to go from that to being a business owner and a business leader. We work very, very closely with the individuals that we invest in to help them bridge that gap. If you look at the market, recruitment market today, very typically it's characterised by a huge proliferation of small, owner-managed specialist recruitment businesses, typically not more than 10 recruiters in size. A business like that is, in practice, extremely hard to sell. It's very hard to find a buyer who will buy a business that small, that specialised, with such a high concentration risk in terms of its revenue and in terms of its key staff. If, however, you combine a number of businesses like that into one portfolio and create scale, create diversification, and if that's underpinned by a solid base of temp revenue, what you find then is that you have a very sellable business and a business that will be valued by a multiple significantly higher than could be achieved by any business in that portfolio if it were an independent standalone business. The key things we look for are very much around the individual. Probably 80% of the decisions that we take around investment are based on the person. We look for individuals who are committed, who are motivated, who are ambitious, who have a plan and a vision to launch and or grow a truly specialist recruitment business. And we then invest our time, our resources, our money in working with that individual to help them achieve that vision. What you find in terms of truly specialist investors in the recruitment sector, and there aren't that many who truly specialise purely in the recruitment sector as an investor, they tend to exist at opposite ends of the spectrum. At this end of the spectrum you have small individual investors who will commit some money to a business, but probably fundamentally don't provide an awful lot more than that. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you've got the corporate investors who provide so much more than funding. They provide the infrastructure, strategic direction, mentoring, support, sale and exit strategy. Those businesses almost invariably tend to insist on taking a majority equity stake in any business that they invest in. Four Pillars Group is the middle ground between those two. We provide all of the infrastructure and the strategy that the corporate investors provide, but we do that as a minority shareholder, and that's very appealing for the founders and the businesses that we invest in. We certainly are particularly interested, not surprisingly, in investing in growth markets in recruitment terms. Healthcare is certainly very high up on our radar, as is technology, very strong growth markets. Locations, we are certainly looking at Sydney, Melbourne, and further afield within the APAC region. One priority will be Singapore, potentially going further afield into countries like Japan, and then also into Europe, Middle East, and eventually North America. The more diversified the portfolio, the better it will be for the future sale and exit strategy.